Hello, and welcome to Universal Love Law. Thank you so much for tuning into this video today where I will be discussing the yod. Okay, so I wanted to get into this series where I am beginning to break down the geometric patterns that one would find in their chart. So I'm going to basically explain how yods affect people, and hopefully this helps you if you have a yod. Also, I'm going to be using Princess Diana's birth chart for an example in breaking down her yod, because I'll be able to like physically explain the way that the yod plays out for a person with her chart so you can see it and make those connections. So first and foremost, a yod is when two planets that are creating a sextile to each other also form a quincunx to another planet. So basically, that means that if you guys look on the screen, there's the quincunx sign. And then there at the very bottom, there's that dotted blue line, and the quincunx is green, but the dotted blue line is the the sextile. So for instance, on the end of each point, there would be a planet, and that planet would be in a sign, and those signs would ultimately create a sextile. For instance, Sagittarius and Aquarius forms a sextile, right? The sextile energy, of course, is opportunities. It's a harmonious aspect. So in a person that has this yod energy, they would feel as though they have a lot of harmonious energy kind of playing out between these two planets. So it can look different for everyone. It can be Sun, Jupiter. It can be Mars, Uranus. It can be Venus and sun. So whenever two planets are forming the sextile will be harmonious, right? But the thing about people that have the yod in their chart is very challenging, because every time they have these opportunities to benefit, or they have this can do or this motivation energy, it's it's in the background, right? That focal point is a quincunx that's aspecting the very blessing in the chart. So one that has this blessing in the chart, which is the sextile, which is the motivation. I can do this. This person that is able to prove and show and prove and create results. Ultimately, they have this shadow aspect to it that's causing them to question the very opportunities, or there's this underlying shadow side that is being triggered from the quincunx. So the quincunx is the high point in the yod, which creates the quincunx to the two other planets. So the way that the yod is, as you can see on the chart, on this little picture here, that top point would be the planet that is forming the quincunx. So for example, Sagittarius quincunx Cancer. And I know that because my sun in Sagittarius quincunx my moon in Cancer. And a quincunx is basically two signs that are not anything alike. So yeah, there's opposition, but ultimately the opposites have some qualities that are similar because they share the same modality. So remember that which is mutable, fixed, and cardinal. But the thing about quincunxes is that means that two signs are forming this need for change, this need to integrate. So there's two planets that are signs in the planets that are nothing alike. So these signs are are totally different in the energy. So however this would look in your chart, if you were to look in your chart and notice that you have a yod there, you want to see what signs are forming the quincunx. Because the sextile energy, that will be harmonious, but the quincunx energy will be challenging. It's a need for attention. It's this lack of perspective. So you definitely want to look at the way that what signs are being quincunx. It will show you the way it's playing out, and also what house is that yod high point, which is forming the quincunx in, because that's the area of life that will be very challenging to integrate with the sextile energy. And usually the sextile energy will be two houses apart. I mean, excuse me, like that, right? The house right after. So it'll be like the ninth and the 10th house, right? So that's where the two planets will be sitting, creating a sextile, but they're being affected by that quincunx energy. So when we're breaking down the yod, it's very, very important to know that the sextile brings forth opportunities that feel harmonious, and you feel that energy like, I can do this, I can accomplish this. And it looks different depending on what planet is creating the sextiles, of course. With your personal planets, which is your sun, moon, and rising, it will affect you far more personal. It will affect your personality. Now, when we're moving into other personal planets like your Mercury, Venus, and Mars, it will affect you more subconsciously, or the way that your actions or your reactions to things. I mean, excuse me, your more so reactions to things. Your sun, moon, and rising are more so your actions. Even the moon is your reaction, but for this example, those three planets would be more, or those three planets, yeah, would be more personal, and it will be affecting your character. Whereas the outer planets like Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus and Pluto, those will be more subconscious. These are the things that are playing out in your life without your control, and you're wondering like, why does this keep happening? If that makes sense. So before I jump into Princess Diana's yod in her chart and explaining and breaking that down, I'll just continue to kind of give a further emphasis on the quincunx energy. So remember, it's this unconscious tension between the other planet. There's a tension, and there's a need to adjust and reorganize and take a look at it. It's like the yod energy they call it the finger of God, because it's an area of life where one needs to integrate their shadow aspects that are totally different than, the sextile energy. The planet that's on the high point of the yod, is that energy is totally different than the positive energy. So integrating them is the importance. Being able to really tap into a person's higher potential is the key in the mission in the person with the yod in their chart's life. It's really their life purpose, is to, a lot of that energy is to learn how to integrate. It's through a lot of reflection that one can see how they can integrate their quincunx energy. But you have to know what planets are forming the quincunx, right? And what sign, and what modality, what element, what is the energy, right? So first and foremost, so Princess Diana she has a yod in her chart, and I thought it would be perfect because a lot of people kind of knew of her personality to be very calm, cool, collective, sweet-hearted, kind-hearted, and this in her chart, it really makes a lot of sense. So first and foremost, if you take a look at the chart here, I'll show you how to find her quincunx. Her yod that has the quincunx and the two sextiles. So if you look at Aquarius, you'll see that sign for Jupiter. That's where you'll see the little dot that's yellow. The dot that's making the yellow yod. And it's aspecting her Mercury, and her Pluto. So at the very top of the chart. So basically, what I can do is I show you a picture here. The Jupiter is that bottom planet that's the focal point of the quincunx energy. That's what's causing a lot of the friction and a lot of the disassociation, because with quincunx energy there's this weird feeling of of unknown, like an unknown energy, not knowing how to fully integrate these aspects of ourselves. It's like having multiple personality, if I would say. So for her Jupiter, it's in Aquarius, and it's really important to know where, if you have a yod in your chart, where is what is the planet that's forming the major focal point, and what house is it in? Because this is the area of life that will be totally different and will be always challenged every time the sextile energy is playing out. And so for her, her Pluto is sextiling her Mercury. And remember, Pluto deals with our energy on a deeper level. It deals with our ability to magnetize and attract and create. It deals with a deep-rooted trauma as well, and our spirituality and the way we perceive that, right? And so she has it in Virgo, so she's very analytical when it comes to these aspects of herself. Is creating a sextile to her Mercury in Cancer, right? And so remember, your Mercury is your reasoning, your ability to think and process and communicate, written and spoken word. And so in her instance, it is in Cancer. So taking a look at this, her Pluto and Mercury are both in feminine planets, whereas it's illogical, but it's also very intuitive. So her Mercury is her ability to communicate and connect with others is definitely felt on a level where she needs to have very intimate conversations to feel like the conversations are are worth anything. So she may have had genuine speech, and from what I've known, like doing like research on her, I did hear a lot of people that admired her always say that she was very graceful in her speech, right? And so if you take a look here, but it also with that Jupiter energy, you really want to note that that Jupiter energy is what's causing the quincunx. And the Jupiter is in Aquarius, so that Jupiter energy is very unique because her Jupiter in Aquarius, your Jupiter deals with expansion, it deals with law, it deals with royalty in her case, right? It deals with success, it deals with leadership and world leadership. So it makes a lot of sense. Her detached, which is the Aquarius energy, she has an ability to be a part of a group, which Aquarius deals with groups, but a group of high value. Because this is the very interesting thing, her Jupiter is in the second house. So if you take a look at her Jupiter in the second house, it's where the yod is the focal point at. So one must really understand that. That is where the disassociation is. The yod is where, you have to integrate your opportunities and the positive things about you into an area that may be, kind of like totally different the way that that area of life is. So she has to learn how to integrate her values, her material wealth, all of those things into her natural ability to communicate, right? And her ability to transform and transcend through experiences, right? Her spirituality, or the way she looked at religion or whatever it is she was into, or her instincts, her knowing, her deep rooted instincts, which is that Pluto energy. So when you look at her houses, the yod energy is affecting her second house because the focal point Jupiter is in the second house of course, values, possession, worth, self-worth, all of those things, right? And then her Mercury is in the seventh house of Gemini, but her Mercury is in Cancer, right? And her eighth house is where her Pluto is. So that yod energy is very, very, very interesting because ultimately what is happening is she has her communication in her relationship house. Mercury, Cancer in the seventh house gives her this desire to have relationships and opportunities because it's a sextile energy. Um, Opportunities where she's communicating with people on a very authentic level. The relationships she forms are very intimate, and she desires to have that trust because Cancer deals with that. It needs to feel safe. It needs to feel like it's understood emotionally. And also, counter to that, her Pluto is in the eighth house. And so I absolutely understand that energy because I have Pluto in the eighth house as well. So when it comes to Pluto in the eighth house, these are people that go through a lot of transformation and they have very interesting relationships with their partners when it comes to the control because Pluto deals with control and force, and it could even be like abuse emotionally, mentally, all different kinds of different things in the way that Pluto will play out in a person's eighth house and the people that one attracts. But that's more, dark sided when it comes to us looking at this sextile between Pluto and Mercury, because first you want to start with the basics. When you look at your yod, look at your opportunity. So the opportunity here is her ability to communicate, and the relationships she forms will ultimately bring forth her, will magnetize, because Pluto deals with magnetizing, right? Very powerful relationships, because remember, the eighth house deals with marriage on a contractual level. It deals with you taking care of this for me and paying this bills, or that's on a mundane, but she's royalty. So she doesn't think about bills. She doesn't think about that. She's taken care of in that sense. And her marriage is ultimately what brought her this wealth and this abundance. And so her Jupiter, which is her second house energy, she has this gift where she has, an abundance of popularity and success, and this connection to this world leader. So it makes sense. I get the bigger picture of how she could attract this lifestyle, right? Because that's ultimately what the second house reflects. It reflects the way that we're living on a material level, physical level, because it's ruled by Taurus, it's ruled by earth energy, tangible material things. So it's in a total difference than her Pluto Mercury sextile. So her Jupiter, so all of this wealth and fame and all of these things, it's so different than the way that she is in relationships. This is the way that the yod kind of played out for her. Integrating her Jupiter energy, her second house energy, which is, remember, the Jupiter is in Aquarius. So integrating that wealth and abundance, that social wealth, because Aquarius deals with your social life. So she's socially in a group of people that are wealthy. She's surrounded by wealthy people, and she may have been very detached in the group, but very associated with the group. Like everyone knows she's of this royal clan, but ultimately her relationships that she has with those people are not based on, wealth or the material things. You can't buy her love. Like, that's what I'm getting to. But for her to integrate this second house energy into her eighth and seventh house dealing with her relationships, and her eighth house dealing with transforming and discovering herself and joint tie connections to her partner, her husband, and her husband's family. That could have been very challenging for her. She may have always like kind of wanted something outside of that, being her own self. And every time opportunity presents itself with her, relationships, remember the seventh house Mercury energy, and also the Pluto energy in the eighth. So she could have probably had a lot of guilt of having all this wealth. She could have been very disassociated to the wealth, the wealthy part of it, or the lifestyle of it. She may have just wanted to just feel normal, not be normal. Of course, one would in that situation would never be normal. So she may have had a hard time bringing that lifestyle into and like integrating it with her relationship. Cancer Mercury, seventh house is her relationships being based on security and based on connectivity intimately. And someone that in having formed relationships that feel family like. So a lot of people may have felt that warm motherly energy from her, and also may have wanted and felt the need to take care of her, because people that have Pluto in the eighth house, usually they attract people that are wealthy or that can take care of them. And so she was looked at like this very feminine person, but there was always this nagging, gnawing, disrupting feeling every time that things are going well. She's probably in interviews with her husband, or she's having social meeting gatherings where she's communicating and discussing you know their joint relationships or whatever it is that they had going on their personal level with the relationship and how she formed them. It can is She probably felt like she had to integrate this lifestyle with it all, and that can be challenging, because if she has to integrate this aspect of royal wealth and all of these things, but she doesn't want to because that quincunx energy is there. She can feel like, why should I, or why do I have all of this? She may have questioned herself. How do I feel good about this lifestyle? She may have just wanted a very simple, not simple, but more deep, intimate connection with people without the need of the notoriety. And maybe the bouginess was too much for her, and trying to be in this way of life, which is very, no nonsense. And, her second house is ruled by Capricorn. So these people can definitely be in the upper echelons of things, being able to be very classy and very particular. You know how the royals do, right? They are very they have their mannerism is very structured and very civilized. And so she has the ability to do that, but it's so different in the way that she may have really wanted her relationships to be. And so that could have caused a lot of hardships in her life. It's like when you really truly knew her, she probably was someone who was very sweet and tender, and all that closed in, uptight perfection was probably not easy for her to integrate, because ultimately that is what she had to integrate in this lifetime. So overall, the yod was teaching her to change her attitude about her royal lifestyle And that may have been challenging for her because every yod energy is going to lack, you're lacking perspective. You don't know how to be royal in this family and also be that way in your relationships. Well, for her. Remember, when it comes to understanding your yod energy, it's very important to note that the quincunx will always be the focal point, or where that point is that's affecting the opportunity, which is the sextile energy. And so integrating is the key. Recognizing and understanding that area of life, wherever that quincunx planet, the focal planet, wherever that planet is, what house is it is in, and what planet is in that house, knowing what sign it is, all of that matters so that one can understand what they have to learn how to blend the two. Because once they're able to blend that quincunx energy into their sextile energy, which is, one would say, more positive, right? Once they're able to integrate those energies together, they'll be able to, it will be challenging, of course, because they have to recognize when they're tapping into their, that quincunx energy. You have to recognize it. Usually it feels very uncomfortable, or it feels like you don't understand. And for everyone, it looks different. Remember, it matters what planets are playing out the yod. And so I hope this video has been helpful. And please let me know, if you have a yod, what planets are involved, what signs are involved, and what house is it in as well. And let me know how it is affecting you in your life. So yeah, this is a little bit more advanced when it comes to understanding astrology. But remember, when you're learning how signs are interacting based on how your chart is and the overview of your chart, there's a lot of other really interesting geometric shapes that play out in people's lives. Like the other ones I'll do is, of course, like the grand trine, the T-squares. I'm going to move on to all of those later. But I wanted to start off with something kind of simple. And so I hope that this video is helpful. Please let me know, too, what your experience has been having a yod in your chart. Thank you so much for tuning in to Universal Love Law. Peace.